Hello, I'm Lo. We all know what it is that keeps the art community going. No, it's not the smell of alcohol markers, nor is it the Squarespace sponsorships, though I wouldn't say no to one of those. It is the sketchbook tours. So today, in the worst off-brand video essay that you've ever seen, I will be talking about why people are so obsessed with having perfect sketchbooks. It's me. I'm people. Why are we so obsessed with seeing other people's sketchbooks? I could just say curiosity and then end the video, just go straight to black. We are so invested in what other people are doing. We want to know what they are doing in their silly little lives that we are willing to pay money. It is a very common Patreon reward to be able to see people's sketchbooks. The internet is overflowing with beautiful sketchbooks. You can scroll for hours on Instagram, and if you want to take it a step further, you can spend 40 minutes watching someone talk you through every single meticulously planned out drawing in their sketchbook. And if they make you feel bad about your art, don't worry, there are blog posts and YouTube videos and Instagram reels and TikToks about how to make your own sketchbook more beautiful. If you look more into it, like I did during my lunch breaks last week, it was an interesting time. You will find that other people have very strong opinions on how other people keep sketchbooks, or as they like to call it, art books. Just for all of you guys that are really intimidated by this isn't a sketchbook. This is a show book. A real artist sketchbook is a mess of doodles, torn out pages, paint cover samples, and badly drawn cats. Messy sketchbooks is how it should be. It's not preferable or honest in my opinion, but it is what it is. Art influencers lie about their pretty sketchbooks. There are sketchbooks and then there are sketchbooks, which are more like art books. Clean sketchbooks are a lie. YouTube and social media has taken the fun out of being messy with art. To be quite frank, the way some people describe other people posting pictures of their sketchbooks makes it seem like what these people are doing is setting fire to kindergartens and then live streaming it for fun. A real sketchbook by a real artist is full of ugly drawings and notes, and it is falling apart at the seams. And if it isn't, are we even allowed to call it a sketchbook anymore? And in the end, does it even really matter? People wanting to show off their best work is nothing new. And you could say this is making people feel bad. It is making people feel bad to look at other people's sketchbooks and saying, mine don't look like that. Why can't mine look like that? In the end, and this is a question I am actually asking you, is it another artist's responsibility to make sure that you feel good about your art and that you don't compare yourselves to them? It's not inherently bad to post good artwork. It also doesn't hurt to sometimes remind people that, you know, this is the internet. It's been a decade. We know that people want to put their best foot forward or their best furry artwork. For My Little Pony fan art, they want to put the best of those out on the internet, not the bad ones. The art you see on the internet, rarely the whole story, okay? It's hours upon hours of ugly things underneath that top layer of paint. The solution to having a pretty sketchbook and needing somewhere to put the other stuff is the ugly sketchbook. I have an ugly sketchbook. It started as a regular sketchbook that when I started it, I told myself, I'm not going to be precious about this. I'm going to try the real sketchbook method where I just throw everything in here. Do you know how that went? I used it for like maybe a month and then I couldn't bear to look through it because it was just filled with things that I didn't like looking at. And then I put it on a shelf and I recently took it back down to use as an ugly sketchbook. It has been sitting on a shelf for 2 years because I felt demotivated by trying to mix the things that I liked looking at and whatever chicken shit scratches I was pulling out of my ass on a Wednesday after school. And then the next section is just called I absolutely lost my mind and created a Google form. I posted it on my Instagram story and on my community tab on YouTube. I got 9 responses, which isn't a lot, but it is enough to see some variation. If you'd like to join in on the next time I decide to venture out into like pulling stats into an art YouTube video, follow me on Instagram and subscribe to me on YouTube because I'll be posting them on my social media the next time as well. And to the 9 people who did answer me, participation trophies are in the mail. They will be shipped out. I asked, where do you keep your sketches? Most people said they use a sketchbook. Some people used a combination and some people just used random scrap paper that I had lying around. 2 people said that they keep 2 sketchbooks, one for pretty drawings and one for the ugly ones. And 4 people said that they kept only one. They had one sketchbook that they used for everything. When I asked you how you would feel if someone were to ask you to look through your sketchbook, it was about a 1-to-2 split. Most people said they were fine with people looking through the sketchbooks. They don't really mind people looking at their ugly art, quote unquote. I'm not calling your art ugly, I'm sure it's beautiful. The last third of you said that you would rather not people look at it because you don't want people to see your quote unquote ugly art. Now we come to the question, is having a good sketchbook performative? Sure. Once again, we could end the video, cut the credits. Sure, having a specific good sketchbook made so that you can show it off to people is inherently performative. But I am but a jester and the world is my stage. I do admit, sometimes I look at my art and I'm like, is this going to look good in the inevitable sketchbook tour that I am going to post? I see my analytics, I know what you want to see. I'm fully aware that what draws the most engagement and the most eyes to me is my sketchbook tours. I even set a goal for myself to fill a certain amount of sketchbooks this year. Sure, that is going to help me with my craft and to keep my creative juices flowing, but I also know that that gives me content that I can put out that is going to help me in the long run. Does that make me sound cold and calculated? Sure, maybe a little bit. Look, I didn't pretend that I'm not throwing the biggest rocks you've ever seen in a house made of sugar glass when I decided to talk about sketchbook tours. What have we learned? There's no rules to a sketchbook, except it should never look good, but you have to make sure that you fully flesh out your ideas and don't waste any pages. Use whatever medium you want, but switch it up often enough that you don't get stagnant. But don't switch it up too often or you'll never improve in one tool. And don't waste money on a sketchbook, but you do have to make sure that you invest in your art business. You should draw whatever you want. You know, a sketchbook is to have fun after all, but make sure that you also spend time doing studies and learn how to draw things that you hate. Spend a lot of time drawing things that you hate drawing so that you can get better at drawing those things that you hate drawing. Your sketchbook should not be pretty, but if people want to see the things you're working on, of course you should let them, they're just curious. And you don't want them to think that you're ashamed of your sketchbook and your art, right? Take that sketchbook with you everywhere you go. Every single spare moment you have, you should spend drawing. You have to put in the miles because you know practice makes perfect, but it's not about being perfect. Take that, America Ferrera. That was a video that started off as the note setting up my next sketchbook and suddenly we're here. If I only had a handheld mic, I would be unstoppable. What do you think? It's your turn now. I've done my part. I just talked for the past, 30 minutes? It's your turn. If you're curious about my sketchbook and my art, you can follow me on other social media. I'm gonna go, or I will cough a lung up. Do you like my shirt? I stole it off my dead grandma. I didn't steal the shirt while... I didn't take the shirt off my dead grandmother's body. My grandmother died and then this was one of her belongings that I took. I'm so glad we got to clarify that.